Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wild. Today, what we're going to be talking about is things that customers do that gig workers hate. In a recent video I made about things merchants do that gig workers hate, I received a video request from Donnell Jenkins. I hope I said your name right. Thank you for the video request. If you also have a video request, by the way, you can leave that down in the comments or email me at drivenwild@gmail.com. In an attempt to help customers help us help them, I am going to go over things that customers do that gig workers hate. Before any of that, though, let's talk about some disclaimers. The content of this video does not contain and is never intended to be legal, business, financial, or tax advice of any kind. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is advised that you conduct your own research and consult with qualified professionals before applying anything you find online. Also, I do want to be clear, this video is not meant to attack customers on every possible thing, although we are trying to get a general video on. So I will not be discussing anything about ordering specific items or high quantity. You are free to order what you want. I will also not be going over anything involving tipping on the app, tip baiting, or customer fraud. Because I feel like if a customer does that, that's their intention. That's what they're trying to do. I don't think there is a need to beat that point to death because that is a completely different fight within itself. This video is meant to help good customers get the service they need. So with that said, let's talk about some things that customers do that piss off Dashers. Contacting us for an ETA the moment we get an order. A lot of customers do this. They will pretty much wait until an order is assigned and then they'll expect us to provide an ETA. Like, we just got the order. It's not our fault that your order hit our phone 22 seconds ago. You could have waited, like, I know you probably were waiting a good amount of time and your order might have been sent through the, perpetual order wheel. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it went through one driver to another driver to another driver to another driver. And I understand when that's frustrating. That being said, it's also hard for us because we're not supposed to be on the phone and driving at the same time. It's already illegal and we're just trying to get to your order as quickly as possible. Give us more than 30 seconds of patience, please. Ghosting us. There are two types of ghosting that really piss off drivers. One of them happens within the restaurant. The merchant asks us to contact you because there's something missing from the order. We need to call you about it. You refuse to answer. Calling support about this fiasco is already going to be a problem, and most people don't even do that anymore because we know exactly what they're going to say. Oh, I'm so sorry you are having trouble with this one. We understand you're frustrated with this and want to deliver food as soon as possible. Let me put you on brief hold and try calling them. And in case you didn't know, support teams don't always call the customer or the merchant. Sometimes they'll just put you on a hold and say they called and then claim you didn't actually pick up. So we're trying to help you where they're not. Doordash is notorious for this. They might come back with either canceling the order altogether or replacing an item with something that you may not want. So please pick up the phone. And the other type of ghosting is upon delivery. This may not be a big deal for some orders because you leave it at the door and it's no big deal, but sometimes it means that you're not getting your order at all. Great, now we need to wait 5 to 10 minutes just to come to your door so we can move on to the day. Maybe it's an address issue. Maybe it's a PIN number for Uber Eats. But overall, we would need you to pick up the phone. One time I was delivering an Uber Eats order and I was trying to get to a customer's home. And the problem with this is that she asked me to leave it at the door. Yet this Uber Eats order required a PIN number to finish. So in order for me to move on with my day, I need to get the PIN number. So I'm calling, and she's not picking up, and I'm calling. And of course, after 7 minutes of the 8-minute timer, she picks up and finally provides me the PIN number. Look, if you want it, leave it at the door, just leave it in the instructions, we'll do that. But if we need you at the location for any reason, be there and pick up the phone. And this is especially a problem if you're dealing with an alcohol order. We need to ID you in order to deliver alcohol. So leaving us outside and not picking up the phone is not helping anybody. I remember having this issue with a customer and I was trying to deliver the order and I was calling, texting, ringing the bell, and knocking. This was not a light order. This was 6 cases of heavy and fragile beer. And there was also wine in the order, so everything's made of glass. And when the timer was just about to hit 10 seconds, someone finally answered the door. She gave me one of the most uncomfortable and intimidating stares I've ever had. She wasn't even the person who ordered. She just answered the door and stared at me intimidatingly and uncomfortably. You know the Asian mom that's gonna whoop your ass with a slipper and then just send you to Jesus? That's the look she was giving. Now, the person who actually ordered the items finally saw the text and was like, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. She gave me the ID, I brushed it off, no problem. But as I was leaving, I can feel the stare looking back at me. You know what I'm talking about? And here's another thing about this, a little bit more general. If you don't recognize the number or the phone silences the call and you're expecting a delivery, call us back. Providing a bad number or not providing a phone number at all. This one doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's one of the most frustrating things in the world. Especially if you aren't in a house. You're in an apartment complex or a building with suite numbers or a hotel, and you didn't leave the number or any contact info for anybody. I remember delivering balloons from Party City for a shipped customer. I arrived to the building, which by the way had no parking. I go in and the front desk asks me for the name of the customer. I tried calling the customer. She wouldn't pick up. I tried contacting the customer multiple times. None of us had a valid number. And it kept giving us this number is no longer in service message. And I'm like, whatever, I could just bring it up. What is the suite number of the person? She's like, we can't let you pass the front desk. If you're gonna make it impossible for me to make this delivery, then I can't help you. I left in the lobby, I contacted the support team. They said it was fine, and I left angry at dumb people being dumb. Trying to add things to the order while on the phone with us. Now that we actually managed to get you people on the phone with us, this isn't the opportunity to add stuff to the order that wasn't there. It's called item replacement, not item addition. I remember going to this bakery down here in South Florida, Joseph's Bakery, and they weren't actually on DoorDash. DoorDash sent them one of those automated phone calls to place the order, but they were missing items from that order and they need to be replaced. Before you say it, yes, I know I should have dropped the order at this point, but a part of me said it's just cookies, right? And once we get it, we could just move on quickly. I was so wrong. I contact the customer. She is like, do they have this, this, and that? And I'm like, you know what? Let me just put them on. That way you can talk directly to her and she can tell you exactly what they have. They chatted for a while. They added so many items to the order, it ended up being 3 times the value of the order. This was already a $100 order. It ended up being a $400 order. I can't be mad at the great salesmanship of the merchant, actually speaking. I gotta respect the hustle. But you know what this means. I gotta contact Dasher support because now the red card's gonna give me a problem. Dasher support tried to cancel the entire order instead of just adding extra to whatever they added because they would have gotten more of a percentage. So it actually ended up costing them more money to get this done. Everyone was mad. I was mad. The merchant was mad. The customer was mad. We had to place the order directly with the merchant so that way she can get this food delivered properly. I ended up making from that order, I want to get this right, half the pay from DoorDash, which was about $15. It was a $30 order, $40 in cash, and then $25 on the card because the person also tipped on the card. This was easily the biggest headache I've ever had. I made out, but long story short, don't make our lives harder. Giving us a hard time about ID checks. I don't care what you order. How old do you look? If the app doesn't let me continue without seeing an ID, I need to see ID. Also, there are times where the order itself is made with alcohol, so alcohol is necessary. I picked up some spaghetti bolognese from Zuccarello's once, and when I arrived, she was upset that I was asking her for ID. And she was like, it's spaghetti. It's not something you can actually ID me for. Actually, the app is telling me to ID you, and it's the law, so how about you provide me the ID? I'm not risking my account for it. Before you say it, she wasn't entitled. She was 20. She was trying to get a 21 plus item. Now, what I ended up doing for this was, okay, either you can hand me the ID of a person who is over the age of 21, or I can leave and have this item returned. I would get pay for the return, so it would make no difference to me. In fact, I would be paid more for this, so please piss me off. Just don't give us a headache. It hurts you more than it hurts us, because then you won't get the order and we ended up getting paid more. Putting in the wrong or an incomplete address. Seriously, it amazes me how many people just not check all the info right before you place an order. Sometimes it's a glitch, but sometimes it's just plain ignorance. Check if all the info is there. I remember going to deliver an order and I ended up in a building with a bunch of planes on the wall. Imagine blueprints, but for planes. And everyone there looked at me in shock. Like, how are you in this building? And I'm like, the door was open? I'm just trying to deliver an order to Catherine. They were saying, like, Catherine's out of the country. What are you talking about? I'm like, what are you talking about? She just ordered food here. All right, let's contact her and figure this out. And a couple of guys were like, you need to go now. Literally pushed me out the door by some very angry old people. I was just like, dude, do not touch me. I am not doing this. But little did I know, she actually put in the wrong building address. Like, where she was is in the building next door. Seriously, I got attacked because you were too much of a... to just check if the location was right. What was more condescending was the fact that she said she would tip more on the app, but of course they didn't. So for your food safety in mind, please make sure you're putting in the right address. Not notifying us of GPS challenges or directions. Sometimes the GPS doesn't actually take you to the part of the building that we would need to be on to meet you, or worse, it takes you to a totally different location. Sometimes the house is actually facing a different direction. Here's the road you live on, here's where your driveway is, you know what I'm talking about? In New York, there was this one house, and I'm changing the numbers just to extenuate a point because I don't want to invade privacy. I want you to imagine this was actually how the numbers went. 232, 230, 224, 228. What? And I'm trying to deliver to 224. If there is a challenge that actually would make it harder for us to deliver to you, assume we're an idiot. And make it super clear in the instructions, please. Not being clear about apartment complex challenge. Some apartment complexes are super simple. The 300s are on the 3rd floor. The 400s are on the 4th floor. Super simple, easy to navigate. Some apartment buildings or complexes are like walking inside of a moving Rubik's Cube. Separate buildings, but they're all the same building. You need to go to this floor before accessing other floors. You have to speak to security first, and then they have to walk you up to this point in order to get to this point. Pro tip for drivers, just talk to security first anyway. So that way, if there is a challenge, they will tell you. Not having a clear address on the property, or even telling us the business name if you're having your food delivered to a business. Is your address 228? Where's your 228? Seriously, sometimes I have to play detective in tracking down the home of my customer. Did she say anything? Was the GPS telling me? Did she describe the house at all? What kind of cars in the driveway? Did she say there was a boat? All of this can be resolved with stickers or big numbers on the house, but instead we have to figure things out. I also love it when it's a business and we ask them for a person that isn't there, and then the customer is in the business next door and they're just like, oh my gosh, everyone gets that confused. Well, could you put it in the instructions, please? Leaving your pets outside. I think we've seen enough incidents, whether it's a movie or real life, where people let their dogs or cats outside and they either just chase us down or eat the food, and sometimes both. Sometimes it's the male person too, but I think actually speaking, this does happen to delivery drivers as a whole. Whether it's a matter of an aggressive animal or one that we are allergic to, it's best if you just leave it inside. I have this one customer that has cats outside, and I have to keep an eye out for their cats. Not only am I allergic to cats, cats always want the food, and I always have to be concerned about the cats getting into the food before the customer gets the food. Please bring your pets inside. Not notifying security of our arrival. The amount of times I've been stuck waiting at security because of people not answering their phones at the security desk is honestly unbelievable. All of which can be avoided if you just notified security. Just saying. One time I did this and they said, you know what, go up, it's fine, I'll walk you up there. And him and I just listened through the door them arguing about not answering the phone from security. Meanwhile, security and I are literally standing right next to each other, listening to you instead of just calling us back, not letting us take a picture of the order. There are times where we can be deactivated simply because someone claims their order isn't arriving. And the only thing avoiding that is a photo. Please show a bit of patience and let us take the photo. Keeping the lights off on the porch. This is not only harder for us to identify your home, but it's also making it a little dangerous depending on the conditions. Rain, sleet, snow, even just walking up the stairs wrong. You don't want your delivery driver to fall with your food in his or her hands. Flirting with us. Okay, this is mainly pertaining to the lady dashers out there, but it does go both ways. I love how customers don't want us to flirt with them, but they think it's cool to flirt with us. And in some cases, that flirting is welcome, like I said. If you find somebody that way, great. It's amazing when people don't know professional boundaries. Recently, I had a customer that had ordered alcohol and had it delivered, and I need her ID. One of the things I noticed were in her home were pineapples on the floor mats and a couple on the walls. And I was like, oh, there's a lot of pineapples here. And she looked at me up and down and said, upside down pineapples. And in my mind, I'm like, okay. But anyway, so while I'm putting in the details for her ID, she's standing uncomfortably close to me and rubbing up on me. And when I finished IDing her, she invited me inside for a drink. I respectfully declined and got back to my car and did what any sensible millennial would do and made a TikTok about it, claiming cash tip or not cash tipping. Seriously, this is such a bait and switch tactic. You're actually gonna tip in cash, tip in cash. Don't say you're gonna tip in cash and then choose not to. This is exactly why we expect people to tip first. Customers stop being trustworthy with that. I know we said we're not gonna be talking about tipping, but that's within your control. Like, don't bait and switch. Pretending to be handicapped. Seriously, this happened to me twice, and both promised a cash tip, so it kind of builds into the last one. Both of which happened in New York, by the way. One time, I ended up getting an order that was decently sized, and it said, tip in cash in the drop-off instructions. I get to the door opens, and the guy comes out in a wheelchair, answers the door, and has the meanest look on his face. Like, how dare you do your job that I requested of you? I hand off the food, he closes the door in my face. So I guess no cash tip, right? Anyway, I shrug it off and move on. He's a guy in a wheelchair. I ended up getting $8 in base pay, and of course, no tip. Before I left, I saw the same guy who was in the wheelchair walk out to bring in his garbage pails. There wasn't even so much as a limp. Asking us to stop for cigarettes along the way. First of all, if it was an option, you should have ordered it. Second, if it isn't an option, there's a reason for that. Putting order requests in drop-off instructions. Those instructions belong to the restaurant. Give it to the restaurant. Those messages should be sent to them, not us. I get if you want to be sure that we're getting them by sending it to us, but leaving in the drop-off instructions is not the place for that. By the time we look at them, we are either near your home or already leaving. If you need something from the restaurant and you want to ask us, your best bet is to text us and we will most likely be able to help you. Text us when we're there. Not properly updating your drop-off instructions. Are you delivering to your work or your home? If you have DoorDash delivered to your home and your work, because make sure you double check everything is right there. Asking us to go back for missing items post drop-off. It is not the responsibility of any driver to check your order, especially with rising health concerns. We can actually be deactivated for that. With that said, the person you should be mad at is the merchant, but don't take it up with us. We can't do anything. What you should do is talk to the app or the company that you ordered with, Doordash, UberEats, GrubHub, whatever, and either get your money back for the missing items or they can send another driver for the missing food. Giving us bad ratings for things out of your control. A lot of the things I spoke about are mostly out of our control. Mostly. And for some reason, you take it upon yourself to rate us badly for those things that are out of our control, which is ridiculous. There are things that are within our control, and we should definitely take responsibility for those things within our control, but don't put our accounts at risk for what happens with the merchant or the app, or any other challenge you have that is not about driver. Giving us an attitude. All right, something might have changed since my last video about things that merchants do that drivers hate, so let me check on that. Hang on. Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm still human, and so are every other driver. We deserve human decency. The same human decency you expect from us, we deserve from you too. So with all due respect, if you have a challenge, take it up with us respectfully, and I am sure, if it's possible, I am sure that a driver can help you find a solution. Whether it's contacting support, or the merchant, or replacing an item, or whatever. But don't give us an attitude about it. Now, there is also a point to be made about Dashers doing things that customers hate. And I made a video about customer ratings, which basically is what Dashers do that piss off customers. Feel free to check that out. Let's not give them any reason to act the way they do. Did I miss anything? Let me know down below, and let's get it all out there in this video. But with that said, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.